Hello, everybody. It's Friday. It's 1 o'clock UK time, 7 a.m. Texas time. I've got Reggie Johnson. I've got Wayne Denner with us again today. Great to see you guys. I'm PR Smith. Welcome to the Sustac Plans Chat Club, where we discuss AI, innovation, and ethics in marketing and business. We've got a busy day today. That was, just for the information there, that was Rich Evero Reed, which he's singing his wonderful Tamper the Tones, which is from his new album, which we'll tell you about at the end and we'll post into the show notes as well. But in between times, richeveroreed.com is where you'll find him. Just Google him. He's quite an interesting guy and his new album is terrific. So we are going to talk today about OpenAI shutting down GPT-O today. Also, we look at the update on LA lawsuits. The social media lawsuits are going on there, which is fascinating to watch unfold. Then we're going to ask a big question: should your business still be on Twitter or X? Followed by the nasty use of AI in the escalation of hate and foreign influence being used in the UK and elsewhere, I'm sure. But we'll have a look. I got my hands on some interesting documents which opened up that area. So we'll have a look at that. And then we're going to ask a question about that cute little Chat GPT cartoon trend. We're going to have a look at, lift the bonnet, have a look underneath the bonnet and see what you're actually sharing, which may scare you a bit, and you may need to be a little bit more cautious with your data. We'll then move on to algorithms are personal and AI governance. We'll have a look at that, and I'm pleased to say that's originally from Sorry Bell, who will be joining us, if not next week. That's Sorry Bell Feliz. Reggie, good friend of yours, Reggie. So we'll be coming back to her and doing a full interview with her in the weeks to come, if not next week, the weeks to come. But in between times, we'll talk about algorithms are personal and AI governance. Governance is not abstract. And I'm going to do a little bit on how does AI see your brand. We want to open up this area. We've talked about it before, but it's like SEO versus GEO, etc. So we'll have a look at that. And then a big question: why are Generation Z less cognitively prepared than others? Now, that's a bit of a disturbing piece. And then we'll finish with Rich Evero Reed playing us out. So let's kick off with OpenAI shuts down GP. Is it today, Wayne?
It's this month. They haven't confirmed an exact day on when it's getting wrapped up, but this is the move now where they're basically depreciating the API access that many developers around the world will use, and they're going to be moving the developers onto an alternative API access. Now, this is going to have a little bit of an impact for even users, because we're going to be moving away from that more emotional AI that we've all become very, very comfortable with and familiar with into something slightly different. OpenAI have said that this is more for operation efficiencies, that they're really looking to do this. And again, the technology is moving on, the technology is evolving, and APIs do depreciate over time with more developments and more efficiency, operational sides of things for the business. So this is going to be a big shift and something that we'll keep an eye on over the coming weeks and months as it rolls out.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Wayne. Okay. Just another update is the LA lawsuits. Now, Nikki Petrozzi over in the US is an amazing lady, and she is flying the flag for the minority, but it's a growing minority, it seems. And she said yesterday on her video, I just got handed a new legal finding with 14 more children. 14 more kids who've been harmed by Snapchat and Meta and YouTube and TikTok, Nikki says. So she continues by saying one of these kids, a poor child by the name of Elio Ott, after Snapchat and Instagram relentlessly pushed him drug content in their algorithm and then connected him with drug dealers. One of the dealers got the kid to try Xanax, and he then died from fentanyl poisoning. So there's some kind of a consolidation of lawsuits going on, and every day there's new suits, and kids are, the most profitable target, it seems, for some of these companies to target for, sexploitation or drugs or suicide, whatever it is, they seem to be targeting them. So companies arguing that kids' anxiety is the parents' fault, and these companies don't have any responsibility. This is the challenge. So tomorrow, that's today, should I say, the head of Instagram, Adam Mosseri, is appearing. And next week it'll be Mark Zuckerberg. So that'll be very interesting to see what happens from that. As we say, Nikki Petrozzi, she also has a thing called Scrolling to Death. That's a number 2, scrollingtodeath.com. And we support her. I think she's a tremendous sort of inspirational fighter against it's really Goliath stuff that's going on here. It's the big tech brothers against families and parents and people like Nikki. So we wish them well and give them all our support. Now, a big question for us to have a dwell on. Wayne, should we still be on Twitter as a business, as an individual, or both? Should we still be on Twitter or what?
Yeah, as a big fan of Twitter back in the day, it used to be my number one go-to social media platform. It was great for connecting with journalists. It was great for keeping up to date with all of the things that were happening right across the globe. And for many businesses, Twitter was an effective tool for marketing their business and their products and their services. But over the past sort of couple of years, we have seen obviously the big change in ownership in Twitter. We have seen a lot of issues around content on the platform. We had the recent Grok experience where images, in particular, sexualized images were being created on the platform. And it's left many businesses now pondering the question, is Twitter or X a good platform for my business to be represented on? And I've had a number of discussions recently, in particular with charities who feel that it doesn't align up with their messages and the type of work that they're trying to do with people. And many businesses now and charities, I think, are moving away from X. A couple of things that I wanted to share, which is really, really important, is that you think about how you close down, if that's what you're going to do, your X account. And one of the big pieces of guidance I'm giving to people today is if you close the account down, you may run the risk of that username being released back into circulation, which means bad actors, cyber criminals could in fact register that Twitter username again, and they could start using it for scamming purposes. So what I'm sort of saying,
handle with somebody
your
else.
handle, yeah, your handle, that your handle that you've been using for years, it's associated with your business, because if you Google your business, that's going to come up, and many people will be used to communicating with your business via that handle because you use that handle fundamentally on other platforms as well. So there's a real big, and I'm sure Reggie, you'd agree with this, brand reputation impact here that people need to think about. So what I would be saying to people is hold fire, don't close the account completely, maybe deactivate it, maybe put a message up on the account to say you're no longer active on this platform, but don't delete it completely, because if you delete it completely, you run the risk of that handle being released back into circulation.
Could X, if you said it's not active, could they suddenly close it for you and take it?
Yes, and that will be included in their terms of service, and that's important for people to note, that if your account is, you haven't been using it for a period of time, maybe 2 years or so, they will purge those accounts, meaning that account will be deleted eventually. So you might be better going in every so often and maybe pushing an odd update towards your website or an odd update towards your other social media accounts, just to keep the account active and not deleted.
Like a reminder, like almost a reminder that this has been shut down and that you can now be found on this other platform.
Exactly. Maybe use a scheduling tool, for example, Reggie, to automatically push that content out every so often, so you don't have to remember to go back in.
Yeah. And of course, they probably will have built up some kind of a following. So it's nice just to let people know that you are still out there in the digital space. And so that is worthy of automating, if you can, some kind of a monthly, weekly message, perhaps.
Exactly.
Of where to go and find me elsewhere. We've got some really good stuff there. Okay, thank you, Wayne, very much. Continuing on difficult decisions to make, this is a piece that I can't say the source of it, but I got it from, let's just say, a local government person, and it's about foreign influence, AI, and the escalation of hate. Now, this is disturbing stuff, but this report, and I know when I explain where the report came from, people are going to say, oh my goodness, well, what would you expect, and all the rest of it. But I got it from a councillor, I'm not going to say what councillor, in local government, who said, take a look at this. And so I read through the report, and it's, I'll tell you at the end who the source is. but I don't want to taint your opinions on it just yet. So basically, the report documents how a short-lived but highly dangerous far-right network is operating, primarily on Telegram, and it's amplified through X. There you go, Wayne, through X, TikTok and YouTube specifically. And it actively encouraged attacks on religious centers of a particular type and attacks on the police. Now, this is in black and white. Now, this is not theoretical. It shows how online hate translates into real world harm. So this is not just whipping up nasty opinions. It's actually translated how AI is being weaponized and how foreign actors can exploit moments of national trauma to incite violence. So whenever, the aftermath of the Southport murders and stabbings, that the extremist network, there's one known as Direct Action, that they saw that as a great opportunity to whip it up and generate more hate out of everybody's sadness. And really, that time when you're grieving was, it turned that emotion into hate for particular groups. So this group deliberately sought to hijack public grief and social tension, and they reframed the tragedy as justification for racist violence. So, they encouraged vandalism of churches and or religious centers, and offered financial incentives in cryptocurrency. So these are being funded. So financial incentives for doing these attacks, with shared terror manuals and explicitly calling for arson attacks on these religious centers. This is not abstract hate speech. This is operational, instructional, and mobilizing. This is a different level. So, places of worship were framed not as places of worship, but as infrastructure to be attacked. So it's very clear, black and white stuff that's out there, and they know it's coming from overseas, foreign ideological and technical influence. You can see this because of, firstly, the use of Russian hacktivists aesthetics. They can see that. They can see the copying of logos from defunct Russian extremist Telegram channels, and they can see the non-native English language patterns and repeated grammatical errors popping up. So use of foreign protest footage falsely presented as UK-based unrest, and references to extremist manuals sourced from abroad. So they know where it's coming from. So AI is being used as an accelerant of hate and disinformation. And this report kind of gives clear evidence of how it's been done, with AI-generated images falsely depicting certain religious people as violent, synthetic visuals of burning police cars and mosques, completely created from nothing, AI-assisted propaganda videos designed for emotional impact, and logos created using AI design tools to appear credible and militant. And on it goes. But it's the misspellings and the reverse pound signs, and the Americanized language, cop car, and so on, and incorrect UK place names that reveal that these are coming from abroad, yet deliberately targeted British audiences. Same's happening in Ireland. There is funding offered to right-wing groups in Ireland, and it's the same debate which you'll see emerging from it. Online radicalization, operational guidance, real-world harm, and this is becoming more difficult now. So I'm going to stop this and just say it's a clear warning that without stronger regulation and improved AI governance, now, for the life of me, if Facebook can see that a teenager has taken down their own picture of themselves, and therefore they treat that as a signal to send an ad about they might have low self-esteem, therefore sell them some body powder or skin whatever, or darker stuff. If they can put two and two together and recognize the movement of a picture, surely they can recognize this text and what's in it. I'm not a tech expert in this, but I cannot believe it cannot be spotted. With all the sophisticated AI technology we have, I just cannot believe that this cannot be governed better. So
it's a matter of incentives. They've got no incentive to. 10% of Facebook's income comes from selling scam ads. They've just got, and nobody's forcing them to, nobody's shifting the incentives or holding them accountable for the harms. So you're just telling them, hey, why don't you willingly make less money from illegal actions or whatever, just willingly out of the goodness of your heart. And that's just, unfortunately, today with those companies is laughable.
Well, we'll see what Zuckerberg has to say next week in the court case, and we'll report back on that. It'll be quite fascinating. But to finish this piece, without stronger regulation, improved AI governance, and a serious investment in community protection, this risk will continue to grow. And our communities will be polarized and will end in violence and so on. So this is not only a security issue, it's a human issue, and it's a global issue, it seems. Right. Bit dark and stuff, I'm afraid, but another one coming up here. This is, that lovely little cute GPT cartoon trend. We've all done them, send a little cartoon of ourselves or whatever. So Wayne, you've spotted something and need to warn us about what's going on and what's actually been shared when you're doing this, which seems like innocent bit of fun. Tell us more.
Yeah, this is blowing up on LinkedIn in particular. I'm sure you've seen all of the little cute caricature type cartoons of people in their place of work or the job that they do. I mean, this has went viral over the past sort of week to 10 days, particularly on LinkedIn, but I have seen it moving across onto other social media platforms. And the thing often that people aren't really thinking about it here is, in order to create or produce this caricature or this cartoon image, you actually have to upload a high resolution picture of yourself. Now, what you're effectively doing is you're uploading this to ChatGPT, and you're asking ChatGPT to create the cartoon image of you, in your place of work or whatever it might be. So you're giving OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, access to your physical appearance. So this is really important for people to think about the biometric data contained within the photograph, how it can be analyzed, how it can be stored. And the kicker here really that most people don't grasp is that once you hit the upload button, folks, you've essentially lost control over what happens with your data. And it's back to that problem that even I still talk to young people about, is once it's out there, it's kind of out there. And people haven't read the terms of service in relation to what they are giving OpenAI access to in terms of how they can use the photograph, where it's stored. Could it be used in ways that you didn't specifically agree to? What happens if the terms? Yeah, what happened? Yeah, exactly. Deep fakes. What happens if the agreement changes in the future, the terms of service? What happens if there's a data breach? What we've talked about many, many times. So, and also the big one for me at the moment is AI then training on that photograph. So this is huge at the moment. And again, I wrote a news article on it this week on LinkedIn, and lots of people shared it. Lots of people commented on it. I didn't think about this. I got caught up in the whole hype of it. Everybody else was doing it, all of this sort of stuff. So I give some really useful guidance in that newsletter for people just to stop and think about it. I'm not blaming anybody for getting involved in this. I'm not trying to point the finger. I'm just trying to say there's going to be more of this. We're in an era now of huge data collection. And you have to really think about the social media platforms, and the AI platforms are going to be looking for more cleverer ways to capture our data.
We need to be discussing this and sharing this with everybody. As always, we will put a link to that newsletter piece that you wrote. We'll put it in on prsmith.org/blog. Everything we talk about, we'll put further links to everything we talk about. So if you want to dip in and go further with any of this, you can do. Is it fair to say, Wayne, that Facebook, I know they did, and is this still the case with the terms and conditions, because I've never found the time to read them, that they take ownership, not ownership. When you post your photographs of yourself on there now, forever and a day, apparently they've been doing this, that they have the right to do what they want with that, to put that in an ad or elsewhere. Is that right?
Some of them have changed that approach. There used to be a line in the terms of service that when you upload your picture to our services, you give us exclusive rights for perpetuity to use this content in any shape or form, or for any advertising or marketing purposes. Some of them have moved away from that now, but there are still platforms out there today, and I've seen a number of them that do include that particular statement in the terms of service. And that's why you mentioned there, Paul, it's so important that people familiarize themselves with the terms of service. But look, the bottom line is, with the terms of service, it needs to be easier for you and I and everybody else to understand what we're signing up to. It's full of legal jargon. It's about 50 pages long, and people just click accept. So until we get to a point where it's digestible and it's user friendly, we're going to find ourselves in these types of situations with our data.
Indeed. And that data is chewed up and digested and used in different ways by the algorithms, which are becoming more personal as we use more AI. Reggie, algorithms are personal, and AI governance.
This is something that Sorabel Feliz, who we talked about and hope to have on the show soon, has been saying, is that algorithms are personal and AI governance is not abstract. Well, what do we mean by that? At this point, we're talking about the fact that your ability to land a job now, to make money, is now largely determined by how you score on a secret scoreboard. Just think about that, because not only that, but this black box secret scoreboard could have a hallucination that impacts a high stakes decision at any time, and no one could tell. So, this is people using AI for making hiring decisions. There's a serious concern. There's a company that is a company, Eightfold AI, is being sued for helping companies secretly score job seekers because with like credit reporting law, there's kind of this opaque system of scoring, but yet you can look at mistakes and you can correct them and you can demand that they fix this, and you have the right to review your credit score and the factors that go into it. And with a black box AI for hiring, you have no way of knowing how you got scored, why you weren't scored as well as another candidate, if it was because of legitimate reasons, and so that maybe you can look at what to improve, or if it was just complete hallucination or bias. That's a big thing. Proxy language for race or gender and age, and or something like that, and that there's nothing that you could have done about it, or a complete hallucination and nobody can know it. So this is a big concern because of the way that it impacts such high stakes decisions. So there's lawsuits that are now using a Fair Credit Report Act, showing that customer advocates, they're trying to apply existing law. And I think this is really valuable, applying existing law, because a lot of what's going on with the tech companies violates existing law. And it's not being successfully applied, even though already there's enough existing law to make a lot of this stuff be punishable. So applying existing law about the uses of like credit reports and information that they're scraping in order to make decisions that's not suitable for normal hiring standards. So either way, the fact that you have no way to know, no one to step in and look at the system and help if something goes wrong is very concerning when these decisions are so high stakes. And in her course, about common mistakes at work, she specifically mentions these kinds of high stakes decisions should not be done without a human making the decision, making the final decision when you're impacting someone's livelihood. And I think that's a really important point that Sorabel Feliz brings up.
Yeah. So we'll just say this to anybody listening. If you have questions about this, send them in to us, and we will ask Sorabel when we do the interview, whether it's next week or in the weeks to come. So if there are specific questions you have, please share them with us. And I think we'll put the link again in the show notes on prsmith.org/blog. We'll put the link to that free 1-hour LinkedIn course about the 8 most common mistakes that people are making with the use of AI, the security risks associated. It's a great course. I really enjoyed it. I'm glad you highlighted it. I took it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Okay, so all of this data slushing around the place, this asset called data, which was deemed to be more valuable than oil many years ago, on the front page of, was it Time magazine in 2017? Oil is no longer the world's most valuable asset, it said on the front page. It's data. And how true is that? So that's the issue of data that you've been raising there, Reggie. Let's look at it from a marketer's perspective specifically. And the question that's been raised here is, how does AI see your brand? Now, we've talked about this before. A fantastic piece written by Andy Crestodina. And again, we put a link to this on prsmith.org/blog because it's quite intense. But I'm just going to give you 2 or 3 minutes, and then we're going to finish with a question about Gen Z, which is more thought-provoking, I think. But Crestodina says, SEO is hard because you're never 100% sure why Google doesn't love you. But AI optimization is perhaps more fun, so that with a few clever prompts, you can look directly into the AI training data to see where it's forming its opinion about you, or lack of opinion. And you can quickly understand how AI sees your brand in the context of your competition. So this article says you can ask the AI to make you a little buyer's guide, exactly where it thinks you're weak and where it thinks you're strong. Now, I did this morning. I played with this, and it's very easy to do this. It's a starting point. It's useful. So this would be the beginning point of an AI search competitive audit. And I guess something marketers should be able to do is do an AI search competitive audit. So, and that takes us into the difference between AI visibility, versus AI recommendations. So AI visibility would be your typical SEO stuff. But then it's getting those AI recommendation, which brings you right to the bottom of the funnel, the really key bit of the funnel. So we just don't want to be visible in AI. We want to be recommended by AI. So you want the AI to tell them that you're the best option. Ideally, that's what we want. So if you're not present and prominent on the web, you won't even be listed. So you won't even get the visibility piece. But then let's assume that you can work that bit out. You need good, what we call conversion optimization. And this means that providing AIs with the essentially trust and proof and specific details that are relevant to your prospect. So you're going to have to do a little bit of scenario planning and persona building to kind of get the prompts right to do this little exercise. But in other words, we're looking at what we call conversion copywriting. So let's just summarize again. SEO is good for AI visibility, and conversion optimization is good for AI recommendations. Now, time's tight, so I'm just going to point you to a lovely prompt. Excuse me. It's about, I would say, 100 words, 120 words. Excuse me. So I'm not going to read it out now, but it's basically asking your AI, you tell it what your brand is, you tell it what your customers are, and then it asks them to draw up a table of comparison and list your competitors. And you want a comparison, the strengths and the weaknesses, the propositions, etc., what you can do going forward to improve it, all of that good stuff. So it not only does the audit side, the first step, if you like, but it also gives you some tips for going forward, how you can improve on this. So it gives you a mini buyer guide, and you're stepping into GEO, generative engine optimization, as we call it. So some of these tips are based on the many articles that you've probably read already and AI has read already. But the prompt should be longer than the query that's been put into it by a customer. And so we'll give you a link to this article. You can have a look yourself at that kind of prompt, and it goes much deeper. This is the starting point of it. So I suppose the last tip is think of words you would use when asking a friend for a recommendation and build that into your prompt. So we give you the example of the prompt, the 100-word prompt. It's in there. It's in this article. It's a very useful article. So we'll leave you with that. And, it'll take you into all sorts of interesting areas. So much, much deeper than what we're just giving you the top end of it right now. Okay, time is tight. So we've got just a few minutes. So I want to finish with this piece, Reggie, about Generation Z. We've talked about this lack of cognitive ability, but are they suffering a disadvantage, Generation Z?
Yeah, according to Dr. Jared Cooney Horvath, who testified in front of the U.S. Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation, he is a teacher turned neuroscientist. So he is pointing out that ever since tests of cognitive ability were created in the 1800s, every generation has seen an improvement on cognitive ability. So they have to constantly reset the IQ test to 100 based on a new measure, because every generation has cognitively outperformed because of better nutrition for the most vulnerable members of society so that kids get the brain development they need. And number two, more time in school. Those things exercise the brain. They give the brain nutrition. Now, Generation Z is the first generation to cognitively underperform their parents, the previous generation. The first generation in all areas of like focus, awareness, attention, IQ, or a number of, I'm not sure about IQ, but like pretty much everything cognitively. I need to look at the exact number for that. But the concern is why? Why? Well, he points to what the data suggests is that in 2010, right around then is when we started seeing digital tools being used heavily in schools. And kids that use 5 hours or more a day of digital tools for learning, just for learning, are scoring 2/3 of a standard deviation worse than kids at school that rarely or never use digital tools. The old-fashioned methods of writing down your notes on paper require more cognitive effort and exercise. And the fact is, here's the thing, we evolved to learn from human faces and not from screens. And that's not changing anytime soon. And I think that's why we really need to value our human teachers and not even think about trying to replace them with AI. We've already replaced too much of education with digital tools. This is something very concerning that some countries have already brought changes about. I believe Sweden is leading the way and going back to some of the old-fashioned methods, and we laud them for that. And I hope to see more change soon, because this is something that needs to be addressed right away before a country's future prosperity.
Indeed, yeah, that sums it up nicely. I mean, the country's true prosperity, a whole generation that could be affected. So we do need to activate and stimulate the brain in our youths. I applaud your call for the importance of the teacher forever and a day. That kind of confirms my thinking about it. Okay, it's just gone 1:30, and we try to keep this strictly to finishing at 1:30. Thank you for condensing that rather large piece, Reggie, into just a couple of minutes. Thank you for that. Wayne, thank you very much once again for stepping in. We'll put links to everything we've talked about today into prsmith.org/blog. Thanks for listening. Anybody else out there, we can see, it's nice to see you. I will always answer any comments later on. I'll get to them for sure, and we'll post in the next half hour. We'll post the links to everything from today's course on prsmith.org, prsmith.org/blog. Right, with Six Nations tomorrow, busy weekend. We shall see if Ireland's still in the race or not tomorrow. But good luck to all the teams competing. I will say farewell to you guys. This is the wonderful. I must say I am becoming a fan of Rich Evero Reed and his new album. So we'll play this out with a piece from Rich Evero Reed, Tamper the Tones. A lovely track. You'll see lots of influences in there. So wish you a great weekend. All the best for now. See you guys. Have a great weekend.